And hello, welcome to another edition of, what is this? This is DevBeardOps,
Yes.
a weekly show where two bald, bearded guys talk about DevOps. And one of the important part about this entire DevBeardOps is it's the beard on the inside that counts. So if
Yes.
you do not have a beard, that's perfectly fine. Welcome, Karle. Hi, welcome. Welcome to all. It's so nice to have you here. Today, the topic of today's discussion is, what is it saying below? Containers at home.
Containers at home.
Last week we talked about how can you run containers everywhere. Basically, we talked about how Cobus is setting up his home container systems. Some of the utilities, like what did you do? The traffic one, and
Traffic
then
for the reverse
smoke ping,
proxy and
reverse
SSL.
proxy, and a whole bunch of
Yeah,
things.
all the nice toys.
Setting it up at home on your home little servers or whatnot. But today we're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about something very similar. That is ECS anywhere. So we're going to be running basically containers everywhere. We're going to be managing them through ECS or Elastic Container Service, but Cobus is going to run them at home. I will actually give Cobus the chance to say what exactly are we going to be doing today, because he has a demo which he's going to let YOLO it, right?
Yes, which is literally YOLOing like I tweeted earlier on, because as we're sitting here and you see me looking sideways, I'm still copy pasting and working between the two just to get the last of the kinks out. I'm almost there. So we might be doing a little bit of troubleshooting today. But
That's good.
to set the scene, what we went through last week, like Docker covered, is like my home network setup. So I've got a reverse proxy using traffic, so I can access all the various containers I'm running, and add an SSL certificate to that using Let's Encrypt. So we got all of that up and running last week. And then what I did is that was all very fine, but I got to a point now where a bunch of Docker Compose files and running them by hand is not fun anymore. Yeah.
Not fun indeed.
No, because I started writing bash scripts with for loops, and then you generally know that you are in trouble. So yeah, basically what I did is I am busy changing it to, instead of using Docker Compose files, to be using ECS Anywhere. And what this does is it actually takes my little home server and it installs the SSM agent, which is the Amazon Systems
Manager.
Manager.
So Simple Systems Manager, SSM.
Simple Systems Manager. That was, yeah, that's the other S. Yes. System Simples Manager, which is basically a little agent running on any instance or let's say a physical on-prem machine. And then that gives you certain capabilities. One of them being to run remote commands on it. Other things to access, let's say like SSM parameter store or secrets manager, which is configs and things. But for the purpose of what we are doing, the SSM agent allows it to configure the instance so that it can communicate with ECS. And what that does is it installs the ECS agent. That agent has got a config file, which consists of, I think, one line last time I checked, which is cluster name equals home in my case. Then what happens is that it then connects to ECS using the credentials that I've got configured. And we're going to dig into that because that's a headache that I ran into, and I don't think that's going to work. Then basically it's part of the cluster. So what I just have to do before we share our screen in Docker, please start asking me questions about our or what I'm busy trying to do and how I can break it, because I need 2 seconds to filibust so I can just get this config done, because I've got a typo somewhere.
So Cobus needs to fix the stuff he's doing, and that's how it's done, folks. Right? Yes, of course, we all like to talk about preparing demos up in advance, but sometimes, as in the world of, well, your world, our world, a lot of things you have to do anything in real time. So just before we continue, please do let us know if our audio is okay. We just want to make sure that we are relatively equal on audio levels. That's always a pain. I want to say hello to everybody. I see Comrade Engineer is trying the exclamation mark Cobus and exclamation mark Darko commands. Those are not commands. That's just like a... So if you're first here, if this is your first time here, we use those things like not Cobus and not Darko, because people tend to confuse us. Even in real life, people have called me Cobus many times, and people have called him Darko many times. I don't know why. I don't know what ticks them off, but yeah. Yeah, that's the whole joke. We need to fix the bot to actually react on the exclamation commands. So yeah,
it's actually Moobot.
Yeah, Moobot. Yeah, we need to figure out that Moobot. Oh, thank you all for confirming the audio quality. Thank you very much. Ned Stark is back. Hello, Ned. We've seen you yesterday on stream. Welcome back to the stream. Javasoft. Well, Cobus is doing this. I wanna answer this, address this question.
Almost there.
Take your time. Take your time. You know, it's no pressure. It's only live, and we have a lot of. We have 60 people watching you fail now. From Javasoft, I'm guessing that EKS Anywhere is still an AWS internal work in progress, and we should use ECS Anywhere if we want to hybrid Kubernetes on our home labs. I'm not sure. I think EKS Anywhere is not generally available yet. ECS Anywhere went
coming in 2021. Yeah,
exactly. So
coming.
Yeah, ECS Anywhere was released recently as generally available, so you can use ECS Anywhere right now. And EKS should come this year, and that's how we do, right? So we announce things. We usually put them in customer preview where you can actually request, hey, I want access to the service, right? Just to test it out to see if it works. We get all of your feedback. And that's one of the great things about testing a product in the wild is actually getting your feedback on it. And then we deliver it actually working and functional for all. So Javasoft, just wait. I think if you want to do your Kubernetes stuff across the cloud and home, should come this year, right? Oh, we have Santos here, so hey, I cannot wait to see ECS Anywhere. So yeah, let's see if Cobus fixes that. That should come as well.
It should be fixed, but it's not. And this is now where I think we can start today's session and start troubleshooting.
Okay, so but before we start actually troubleshooting, let's go ahead and talk about how this is exactly going to look like, right? So yes. We don't have a diagram. Yeah. I guess we have no slides ever.
And waving.
We can draw things maybe. So maybe Cobus just can explain the awesome way you're going to be doing this, right?
Yes. Okay. So yes, I will share Nathan's post.
I will share it. You explain. I'll find it. So
yeah, we did that. You did a nice home lab setup. So basically, what I've got here is that here next to me is a little HP microserver about that size. It's got a couple of drives in set up in RAID, and it was running my containers at home. I do have like 2 or 3 other servers and Raspberry Pis and things running. So the long-term idea is that I start managing all of that with ECS instead of me manually configuring all of those instances, because it's a risk if something breaks. I've had that in the past. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I moved my Pi-hole configuration for DNS, or setup rather than configuration, onto a separate Raspberry Pi, because every time I played with my home server and I broke something, the whole house's network went down, and then I had angry people screaming at me like you would have at work. And then what I did is put that on its own Raspberry Pi, and then I also run some Ubiquiti Unify gear. I've got a managed switch and 1 or 2 access points, and that also the controller runs on another Raspberry Pi, once again, for the same reason, keeping things up and running and not breaking it. So now what we want to do is we want to take all of that and all of this nice little manual Snowflake server configuration and change it into something that's more manageable. So the first step there was to figure out how am I going to run all of these things. So being an AWS person, because I've used it for many years, more than a decade now, it meant that I want to use AWS services for this. So that's where I started digging into ECS Anywhere. And to get to that point, went through the docs and all of that. So the first thing I had to do was to set up an ECS cluster. So let's quickly start with that. Let me just share my screen. Where's that magic button? It's funny how you always forget how to share a screen.
So the ultimate goal of this is, if you want to run containers at home, and of course you do, everybody does, there's always a reason to run at least something, but you do not wish to manage it from like a home setup, or even if you want to do something hybrid, you can do it with ECS Anywhere. Basically use the benefit of ECS Anywhere as a management platform for your own containers, instead of doing all the manual clicks and types. So show us, Cobus, how did did you get started?
Cool. Okay, so basically I set up the cluster that I have over here, and I'm just quickly going to bring up some code for folks as well. Let me just see, where's my plus button? Make this a little bit bigger.
Somebody's using Razor.
Like that. So I just copied. I've actually got Terraform set up on my work laptop versus the home laptop, because just reasons and config and reinstalls and things. But bottom line is that this is the snippet of Terraform I want to show you that I set up. Is it here? No, that's just that. Oh, I didn't actually copy and paste. Let me actually show you. So
Okay.
grab it from this side, home containers, to create an ECS cluster. Because remember, it's just it's just a construct in terms of I've got a cluster, but it doesn't really actually provision anything specifically in the background. Is those 3 lines? Sorry, let me move that out of the way. I tell it that I want an ECS cluster. I give it a name, which is in this case home. And the only funny part you might see over here is this provider, which is if we now I need to copy and paste again. Sorry, this might happen a few times and throw me off guard. But I have a Terraform config file that looks something like this. Because I've got multiple accounts. So if you haven't ever set this up, using multiple AWS accounts allows you to split resources between different things, and it just increases the resiliency. Because if I'm doing something in the development account, I'm only working with the development account. I can't break production. There's also a good security reason for this. I use AWS as my registrar for my domains. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, when you want to get a domain up and running, the first step is to register it with a registry. And then the second step is to actually set up a bunch of name servers. Then you configure the registrar and say, listen, point to those name servers, please. The challenge here is that you probably will be making frequent DNS updates and things, but you won't be making frequent updates to your registrar, which means then that you want to separate those, because if I get hold of Darker's registrar, I can go change everything, because I can just point it to my name servers instead of his name servers, which means I now own his DNS. And if I change the username and password on that registrar account, you're going to have some serious troubles. So I've got one AWS account dedicated just for registering DNS domains. And that's one account. Then I've got this one, which you can actually see if you look closely here in where that screen go. Here we go. Over here, you can see it's this is my DNS one. I'm using role switching to jump between all of them. And I will hopefully not be exposing my account IDs today, because this will be very unfortunate given that this is my personal account. So we're going to try and keep those out of reach. In theory, if you've got your permission set up, nobody can do anything with the account ID, but it's just the less info they have, the less chance they have of poking around. So first blocker that I ran into this morning that I realized halfway through is that because of my funky multi-account setup, traffic, which is issuing the SSL certificates, is going to give me a challenge, because I've got an IAM user that I created inside my DNS account that has got a permission set, allowing it to interrogate Route 53 and also add entries and change sets, so that I can use Let's Encrypt to auto-generate my SSL certificates, because that's how it works with the validation process. It needs to be able to change your DNS to actually give you, before it gives you the cert. Right. So that's my DNS account. Then, and the traffic uses that to do the SSL certificates. Now I spun up my cluster inside my personal account, because I don't mix my DNS and my personal account. Yes, I've got too many accounts, trust me. And what that led to is the fact that I now need to provide 2 different sets of credentials to traffic. And the problem there is that while you can provide the credentials inside different sections in the configuration, so I can, for example, say traffic, when you spin up, by default use this set of credentials, and inside config section saying here's a key and a secret. The problem with that is, like, putting keys, like sensitive data inside config files is a massive no. There's only one place where my AWS config and secrets live, and that's in the credentials file. I'm still going to be moving that out into one of those ways where you automatically bring it in, maybe look at SSO and all those fun things you can do, but that's the challenge. So that is where we are at the moment. So I've got my cluster up and running, which you can see, and it currently says one external host. So the next step in this whole journey of getting containers to run on my home server is, like, how does ECS talk to my home server? And the good news there is you just go into your actual cluster, which you can see over here, and then there's a tab over here that says ECS instances. Let me just refresh this. Did I not break this? Oh,
is it on your DNS account? Is this running on the DNS account?
You know what? Let me just make it a little bit smaller. I think it's now possibly where I broke something. Let me just check. Okay, we can get to that now. But how you would go about registering your external instance, and this is, I think, now, because I registered against the other account, and then had to delete config files for SSM, and then reinstall SSM.
So let me get this straight. So you create a you create a cluster, an ECS cluster, which is just a logical construct. It's nothing that's running, and within that cluster, you register instances. Those instances can be your EC2 instances, but they can also be servers at home. right?
Yeah. So basically, when you look at the cluster over here, you can see there are 3 types that it can actually use. You've got Fargate, which is
Fargate,
our
okay.
serverless, a serverless container where we specify here's a container or a set of containers. Go run this for me. It needs 5 gigs of RAM and 2
Okay.
CPUs, and then boom, it runs. EC2 is the classic virtual machines that we offer, EC2 instances. You can set those one up and register, or you can now what I've got is the external instance. So that's your compute portion of your cluster, because remember, you've got a container that wants to run somewhere. That somewhere needs to have some compute capacity available along with memory. Cool. So there it's back. Wait, the task is back. The instance isn't back. Okay, we're going to troubleshoot this now, so it's fine.
Okay.
But basically, all you do is you click here on register external instance. It asks you how many you want, the duration of the keys to actually register it. And then you click on the next step. And I'm just going to take my screen off because I just want to make doubly sure that this doesn't share that registration ID, because this is now where things get fun.
Yeah, this should actually share your ID as well. So while you're doing that, I just want to welcome all the new folks coming to the stream. Hello and welcome to DevBeardOps. This is a show where Kobus and I do things about DevOps. Kobus is that person. My name is Darko. And today's discussion show, whatever you would like to call it, is about ECS Anywhere, where we'll get to look at Kobus, how he struggles to configure ECS Anywhere for his home. ECS Anywhere, for folks who do not know, is a way to manage your containers both on the cloud and on premises at the same time, which is really, really cool. If you have any questions regarding AWS, the cloud, why are we doing this, what we're doing, about ECS Anywhere or containers, let us know.
And just quickly to answer the question here that I see in the chat around, can you create a personal org with multiple accounts? Yes.
Yep.
So there's a service inside each AWS account called AWS Organizations. And what this allows you to do is to create an account and then any child configuration of accounts you want. The reason I say child configuration is you can actually put like nestings in terms of the org structure, like you with domain controllers, and then group them that way and do things. And the reason this is awesome is that when you create a new AWS account, you register with an email and a password, and then your personal details, including payment method. And then you've got one AWS account going. Now, you can register a second AWS account like that, and then go into IAM and set up the necessarily IAM policy and role to allow role switching between the 2 different accounts. But those are 2 separate accounts. While you can access both using that IAM configuration, you still build separately, and that's the only relationship between them. Whereas what happens with organizations is that when you create any child account, it automatically links it as the using a thing called deferred biller. What's the term again?
I'm not sure what
you're
talking about.
Biller?
Deferred biller?
It's how you do the deferred billing to another account. How you
well, like we have the payer account, right? And
a payer account. Yes. Sorry, setting up a payer account where the parent account is the one that then is responsible for the bill, so you don't have to set up payment for a second time. The second thing that it does, which is super useful, is that it creates an IAM role for you to automatically be able to switch into that account. So you don't have another set of root credentials to protect. Because remember, your root account is something you shouldn't be using on a daily basis. You should only use that when you set up your account, create your first admin user, and thereafter add multi-factor or delete API keys if you created any, and then lock that in a drawer. Do not touch it unless you really need to, please. You will thank us later.
Okay, so answering a question here from Williswa. We have Williswa on the show. Hello, Williswa. Williswa is our developer advocate colleague as well. So she asked, so the external instances would have to have the agent installed. Exactly. So anything you're installing when we talk about external instances, these are your Raspberry Pis, your home servers, like in Kobus's case, you need to have this ECS agent installed on them. And this is going to install this exact command here is going to do all of those things. So Kobus, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So after that little segue into organizations, where we were is how do I actually get my own server at home registered with ECS? And that's as simple as clicking on that register external instance button that you can see over here. And it asks you how many you want to install, what duration do you want for the key, because remember, you don't want to, and that's why I had to switch off screen sharing, because I'm not sharing this key with you. I would love to get external compute capacity for you to, give me access to your server to run what I need, but we're not going to be doing that. So I just changed this little slider over here, so I'm hiding the activation ID and the actual keys and details. But over here you can see it's basically, it just downloads a bash script, and then you run that bash script.
This bash
And
script contains an activation ID, which is a specific string of key, numbers and characters, which will basically register your given external compute resource to this cluster.
Yes. And what I just quickly want to do is I am going to delete the service that I created because I'm getting the feeling that something that I did over here, because like I said, I'm taking a lot of like copy pasting, typical how you would develop and figure this out from scratch, because I'm too lazy to read through all the docs in one go. I only read the parts that I need when something breaks. That's how I fix things. And I broke it.
You broke it. That's excellent. So we get to fix it now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Also, by the way, for everybody here, let us know. Do you run containers at home? Are you doing something similar like this? Do you have a need to, in your professional life, do you have a need to run your containers in a hybrid setup? Do you want to run them both on premises in your data center using your capacity and on the cloud? So we would like to hear if you are doing any of that.
Cool.
So
let's bring this back, because now it should hopefully be safe again, because once again, I don't want to share my activation keys. I've actually just reran the installation script just to make sure that everything is up and running. You can see that it installs the ECS agent, the SSM agent, and then also it'll install the Docker engine if you don't have it installed, because if ECS is running containers, we need something to run the container, and that something is Docker. Which is, it's very nice that it's actually included here. And also nice part here is you can see over here that everything that's installed is using Apache license 2.0. If you have got regulatory requirements to make sure that you only run certain things. Okay, so now that we've got that up and running, let's go back and see if my server is starting to show up here. No, so it's not showing. Oh, wait, that's services. You see 2 instances. Let's scroll down. So the first thing I have to figure out now is like, why is my instance not registering? Because it was here and now it's not.
Is there a way for you to see it on the instance itself somehow, so we can get some logs?
Yes, let's quickly start doing this. Because figure out, is ECS running?
Grep ECS.
Right.
Run the command again.
There we go. Great. Yes, there we go. Okay, so ECS seems to be running. Let's see if there's logs for that. Log ECS. Yeah, there are logs. Let's look at the agent log.
Hello, Ruan. Regex generator. I run a local cluster at home with various services. One service I run is Pi-hole. We all do that, I guess. And JavaSoft runs EKS and EC2 in AWS. And basic Docker Kubernetes on individual servers at home. Excellent. Yeah, it's fun, right? If you have never worked with like containers at home, it's just a fun way to do. Check out the project called Pi-hole. It's just a really great way for you to get started and do something fun like that, right?
Yes, I think I know what the issue is over here. So with those services, give me a second here. Where's smoke ping? Got that in there. I've got that in there. Because I switched between accounts, I think it's trying to connect to the wrong account now, which is why it's not registering itself.
So looking at your account ID, I think this is the correct account ID to this account. So.
Yes, this is now what I didn't want to share is the account IDs. So, not that. So I've got my keys all mapped weirdly. SSM. I did that last time to get rid of that. Yes. And then I just need to quickly go and nuke all the configs, and then also go double check where ECS is configured, because I think it's the ECS agent that is now still pointing to the wrong account. So this is using a sledgehammer. Let's be very clear over here. I should be able to just stop the service, change the config, restart the service, and all that, but I'm just not going to try and do that because we have limited time. So I'm taking the route that is more likely to yield us a solution. So
as Vincent asks, should account IDs be treated as sensitive information? Well, yes. I mean, you cannot explicitly do anything with them directly, right? For example, you can form specific roles in different accounts because, like, for example, ARNs for roles are, kind of fixed if you have the account ID. But unless somebody else is giving you permission to their account ID, it just doesn't work, right? So it's you're just lowering the attack surface in this case, right? It's not like he shared a password with you or anything. So,
what I need to do is I need to say service. I think it's ECS. Stop. Is it ECS? Let's see. So
hey, we have Paul here.
That does
Paul.
that. So What I'm thinking is, like I said, is I'm thinking somehow ECS is still trying to connect to the wrong old service.
Okay.
So let me just quickly hide this again because I need to run that registration command again.
Okay. Okay. So this is basically redoing the configuration itself. I mean, in essence, this doesn't have to run on a physical server. Cobus could have done this all in a virtual machine on his desktop, but for the sake of being real, he is actually running it on a physical HP microserver, if I understand correctly. Where he runs his containers actually. So that's a fun thing, right?
And I mean, just as to spoil the plot at the end, I'm expecting this ultimately not to work. Sorry, Darko, to disappoint. The reason for this is that the way I run my home network is that I've got a manually created Docker network configured that I run all my containers on. And what I could see from the configuration of ECS Anywhere when I scanned it quickly this morning when I was busy doing the config was that it doesn't support that yet, or at least I couldn't find a specific config for that. So we're going to try and dig into that. But at the end of the day, what I want to end off with is just the container running.
Exactly. I mean, in essence, you don't have to manage your smoke ping or traffic using ECS. We want to see that you can run, like, let's say your blog, you want to run it on the cloud or actually manage it with the cloud, but run it locally. So those things, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily your Docker configuration per se, right? So
yeah, definitely. Oh, here's a good question from Father Goblin. So while I'm just waiting for the SM agent to continue installing, which is why so many people are excited about containers if they are near impossible to set up correctly. The reason for that is that, yes, containers are complex, and yes, any system has got complexity. The reason is that with containers, you push the complexity out into the orchestrator and systems that you can much easier automate. The reason for that is that, think about, I've got a big server and I need to install 50, 60 apps on that. That means I need to probably have multiple runtimes running. And let's say I've got multiple versions of Java. Now I need to worry about installing all of these different versions of Java, setting correct environment variables, starting the process up, pointing to the correct one, and managing all of that by hand. Or hopefully I've got some kind of automation in place. Whereas if I use containers, it's all inside this little shoebox, configs going in. If I mess something up, I shut that container down, change config, spin it up again. It's not a case of let's spend 5 days figuring out how to reinstall a new version of Java next to another version without overwriting it, and it changes the default, what else breaks, etc., etc. So that's the short version of it. It's an easy way to package applications and then also ship them in a standard way, because what's inside the box doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about setting up the Erlang runtime or Java runtime or whatever you need. So
okay, so Cobus, while you're doing that, I want to answer a couple of questions as well here. One from ZB_C. Quick question while Cobus is setting up ECS. He has recently set up 2 accounts, one for development disposable environments, one for CI/CD. So it's split from their main production account. However, wanted to get specific permission set up for different IAM user roles. Has this been a talk or anything coming up in the working with those, maybe actual setup examples or something? Did go through the docs, but wanted to know if there's any way to talk of it. We have not yet talked about like proper IAM multi-account setups. That could be a great topic for one day, because Cobus has all of those things set up. There are examples how you can do like accounts role switching within different accounts. So if that is what you want. If you're talking about provisioning from a central CI/CD pipeline to multiple different accounts, that is also quite possible, right? So that is something that's being done quite often, right? You deploy your staging accounts from a central, let's call it build account or whatever you would like to call that thing. So I don't have any documentation to point you right now, but do check out role switching. That's a great way to understand how trusts between different accounts work and how you can switch between account A and account B when you need it. If you give us a more specific use case, what you would like to do. But thank you very much for the idea. I think I will take it a note. I will take down a note so we can do something this for one of the next times, where we can do a bit more a dive deep into how you actually do multi accounts, IAM permissions, and all that stuff. So thank you for the question. Pedram HA, is it also possible to run Windows containers in such a hybrid settings? ECS Anywhere currently does not support Windows containers, so these are only exclusively Linux containers as of now. But we support Windows containers on ECS if you are going to run it on the cloud. Yeah, go ahead, Cobus.
So I found one of the issues, and this is one of those things that I did not know, is that once you've registered an instance with SSM, so Systems Manager, you actually have to go click and say accept, because it's
Yes.
I'm assuming it's one of those two-way handshakes. So what I've now done is like I have nicely broken my config once again, but there's nothing
Okay.
like stopping a service and running the reinstall command again.
Okay. Once you just
To
bring it up
fix
so we
things.
can see. Yeah, we want to see how you break
Yes,
things.
but I need to just, because remember, I don't want to show people what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly, sorry, this is the one part. I don't want to share that value. I have to do register the external instance, next step.
Yeah.
So I'm literally just copying that command. I am pasting it, and as soon as it's gone past the screen in hopefully 3, 2, 1, there we go. Oh, now we can show the screen again. No, we can't because it's sorry, I'm being oversensitive here. I do realize that. It's probably okay. I can change things, but I don't want to have issues. So
yes, Ian has made this great thing called sensor shell.
Sensor shell.
I think this sensor is like sensitive information shell. I know like iTerm has like a way to kind of block out certain things, like certain key combinations and all that stuff. So yeah, check out Ian. Ian is a gentleman here
Ian
from
has
chat.
got a lot of fun toys.
Has the best tools out there. So
yes. Okay.
Okay, show us.
I saw this here in Fleet Manager. So what happened is, come now. Wait. Okay, is it still running? That's why. Okay, still unpacking. Okay, so that is the first issue we had. Is now how do I actually get that instance up? It's interesting. It did actually pop up in the list of ECS instances previously when I spun that up in terms of my compute that I have. So we're going to dig into that a bit more. Let's see. It should be up and running after this.
Okay, good. So, I mean, the essence of this, how does this work? When you register your on-premises instances, or your hybrid, your Raspberry Pi, or whatever you like run at home, you need to have two things running on them. And this script, this entire string that you get from ECS Anywhere will do that for you. It will install the ECS agent, the thing that actually communicates with the ECS service there, right? It says, hello, and please give me tasks, give me containers to run. And the other one is the systems manager agent, AWS SSM agent. SSM, Simple Systems Manager, is a feature that basically manages your systems. In a sense, it can run arbitrary commands on them. It can patch them. You can gather the logs and even connect to those systems remotely. So this is what's happening right now. The instance is being registered on SSM, so it is going to show up on Cobus's SSM console saying, "Hey, I am running my stuff here," and it also will basically just then enable Cobus to do a lot more things with that instance. Macintosh SE support, running it on a Macintosh SE. I'm not sure if Macintosh SE supports Docker yet, but exactly. I think the smallest thing you can run on it's Raspberry Pi 0. It's the smallest thing you can run it on. I've spoken with folks from the systems manager team, actually from one of the developers. And the Fleet Manager, right, the thing that actually manages your instances, did not support Raspberry Pi 0. And I spoke with him, and I got him okay, let's try to make this work. And he made a change, and now Raspberry Pi 0 is supported. So if you have one of those little Raspberry Pis, like $5 ones, you can also manage them using Systems Manager.
Jeepers. But I mean, it's got so little compute power. It's like there's only so many things you can do. Yeah.
I actually use it. So I have my Raspberry Pi 0 on my Raspberry Pi cluster. These are all Raspberry Pi 1s. But on top, there's a Raspberry Pi 0 as a manager. So this is the thing that will handle my VPN and all the kind of stuff. So should be
nice. Yeah. Okay. We're just waiting for that ECS agent to start. I am starting to think that this is going to be one of those live demos where everything breaks because
That's fine. Let's at least explain what broke, right? Let's explain what broke.
Yes. Yeah.
And how can we avoid this to be fixed. Go ahead. Explain.
So basically, struggling to install to start up the ECS agent, which generally speaking is something quick. Now I'm trying to remember there we go. Okay, timed out for ECS. Okay, now this is where things are going to start getting interesting. So let's see why it is complaining because ECS is still trying to think. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Sorry, keyboard mappings. Let's remove that again. What do I want to? Let's see if it actually registered.
Well, it should if you go to Fleet Manager. Yeah, You should have something a managed instance here. There
we go. Okay, cool. It's online. Wait, how do I do that? That was under inventory over here. I have to accept, enable it. Yep. See.
Well, so you need inventory set up for this to work?
I have no idea.
Oh, you don't. So inventory is one of the things that's just like enabling inventory. Inventory on Systems Manager just enables the collection of like applications, files, and all those things into Systems Manager. So by enabling inventory on your managed instance, you will be able to see which services and which application versions are installed on it. So that has nothing to do with it. It's here. It's online, so you can actually speak to it. The managed instance has this IAM role, so you can actually do something on it if you from that system. Now you run an AWS command, you should be able to do something with it, right? So it should be able to have like a thing running.
Yes. Okay. So what we have to troubleshoot now is we have to figure out why does ECS think that it's connecting to the wrong account.
Okay. So do you have multiple profiles set up on this thing?
I should not.
When I cat those files, it's always like, oh, no, don't cat credentials, Cobus.
See, I'm going to hide them.
Cobus is teasing.
I'm just teasing you. What have we got over here? Okay.
Multiple profiles.
This makes no sense. Okay. So the SSM agent, as part of this whole ECS Anywhere install, it seems to be providing you and the, let me just clear this out so we don't share that. What it's doing is that little bit that I highlighted over there.
Exactly, it runs it as that, yeah.
Yes, which means it seems to be changing the session tokens. So what it did in the end was that it overwrote the existing credentials that I had over there.
Yeah. So when you manage an instance, so if you would register your Raspberry Pi to Systems Manager, its credentials will be the ones that you have assigned it there. So the IAM role that you put there, that will be its credentials, which is great because you don't have to manage keys on it at all, right? So it's a temporary credential. It's something that's being automatically changed. So hence more security. Cobus can technically now show you that key and it's going to be gone in a couple of minutes, right? So
yes, but once again, I'm not that brave. I have seen people do very, very interesting very quickly. If you wanna have fun, generate an AWS API key pair, but change the values, please, so they are not valid. Add them to any text file and commit to GitHub, and just see what happens. Like I even had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, listen, I've actually built an app that detects these things. This can help you in the future not to do that again." So I'm like, people definitely.
By the way, folks who have come to the stream to hear or watch extreme professionalism and polished demos, you have the wrong stream. This is where we try to do things, and then things tend to break, which is real life. Let's be honest, right? So I'm happy that you're enjoying all of this. If you want to see us fail more, while we try to educate, join our streams. Every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central European time.
You can see how we learn, because this is literally, I specifically did not do this beforehand because I want to see how far can I get before the stream. So so I'm now inside IAM, or the IAM console, and I'm just taking a look at what this policy allows, and it says SSM managed instance core, EC2 containers for EC2 role. What I need to attach my own policies that I have over here. Filter policies, customer. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Hold on, give me a second.
Is this the correct account, Cobus? It's a DNS account.
Yes, it's the DNS account. Let me look at my Terraform, because luckily I did everything in Terraform as like a good person should. At least infrastructure as code. You can choose what flavor you want. Otherwise, Dark will get upset because he is a team CDK. I am team Terraform.
Yeah. Speaking of Team CDK, we have Ricardo here. Ricardo is our colleague who actually is building. I'm not sure if the blog post is published yet, but Ricardo is actually building a lovely blog post how to do ECS Anywhere with CDK and all the bells and whistles. So there you go. And Ian is CFN purists unite. One day. We will have a massive discussion. So for anybody here on stream. CloudFormation, CDK, Cloud Development Kit, Terraform, Pulumi, whatever. Those are all infrastructure as code frameworks, and they're wonderful, right? Each of them is good in their own way. But there's always a question. Do I use X or Y? And the answer is always yes, right? Use the one
It's
that
our
best
favorite
suits your
one.
needs, right? Use the one that best fits. And I get it. I get why CDK folks are fans of CDK. It's just a great way to do things. Terraform is beautiful. It does things really, really neatly. CloudFormation is just it does it all. So yeah, I've seen people compare CloudFormation to assembly language, like, oh, CloudFormation is your assembly language and your CDK is your C level or like higher level language. I'm not sure if I agree with that 100%, but yeah, it depends as Paul says here, right? There you go.
Expel version.
Yeah, I know. I'm
And
flying too close to the
crafted.
sun, Ian. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just creating a policy by hand here because we are just trying to figure this out. So those are the policies I need for traffic to be able to do what it wants. So I'm just going to create this policy and add it to
Ian,
that.
can you please let us know what's the lovely tool you built for EM? EIAM? Wow.
I
Ian
am.
for IAM. Ian for EM. Ian in chat here, this gentleman here, he built a lovely tool that can, if I understand correctly, can detect what permissions you need for your specific actions, what IAM permissions you need. So if you want a wonderful tool, check it out on GitHub, give it a star, sponsor this gentleman or something. I don't know. I don't know what people do on GitHub. So, but sponsor an open source project, please. Yeah. I am live. Yes, it is. I am live. Is it? Yeah. I am. Is it I am live or is I am live? I don't know. But yes, I am live. If Cobus would, I guess if you would run this, Cobus would actually see quite exactly what he needs to, what kind of permissions would he need for this to happen, I guess.
Basically, what I'm looking over here is
Enable WebSocket.
yeah, it's that's fine. Since it's got credentials from its routing, unable to discover the endpoint, it's complaining.
But no,
Identifiers for
Cobus, this is from earlier. This is looking at the timestamp 11:01. So this is not from now.
yeah,
So
but
26. Now it's 43. So if you go all the way
okay.
back,
Yeah, but that's 11:25. So that's
is the agent running at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Remove couldn't
Yeah,
start.
there you
Okay. So service ECS start. I remember stopping it. Let's see. Is it going to do something? Doesn't seem to be doing. Oh wait, here we go. Something has happened. Okay, cool. Rewrite and develop. Yes, the identifiers for that. So now I have to figure out where does ECS get this config from? Because it's definitely not. If you go into the ECS over here, what have we got? We've got the config.
Yes.
ECS config, cluster home. See, what's tickling in the back of my mind now is that when previously I ran this, I installed it with the wrong account. So I'm wondering if SSM doesn't have some lingering config that it added to ECS there. So what I'm going to suggest we do is what's in temp?
By the way, for folks in the chat, Darko is a service. At least me looking at log files as a service. It's actually priced per invocation. So every time you invoke me to look at your logs, it's a beer or two, or something even better. Yeah.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that command again because I want to take a look at what's inside that install script. Because my feeling here is that the way it installs ECS, it probably runs a couple of additional commands, and I want to see what those are.
Okay.
Next. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I couldn't see the button, so I clicked on something else. Here's the big register. Yes, next step.
Okay, so
there we go.
For folks joining us, we are trying to set up an ECS Anywhere cluster. Cobus has a microserver at home running all of his favorite containers, and he wants to set it up so he can manage some of the containers from ECS. We have run into a problem where it doesn't basically connect, right? There's an issue. We have installed the SSM agent, which is fine. We have the instance as part of SSM, but the ECS agent doesn't want to register. So we're trying to look at logs, which is what everybody needs to do, and figure out what's happening here. Okay.
So some basic Please region activation code.
Cobus, I love the fact that you have opened that script in Vim. Thank you.
Of course.
And you're doing it in
I can't
text
use Vim.
editor.
I only know Control A, double D, double P, double Y.
But no. The fact that
Shift
you're using
G.
it in text editor.
Yes, that's how old I am. Go away. Okay. So what I'm looking for is ECS. It checks the version. And what does it do?
Soft Taco Router, please tell me if there is DevBeardOps merch somewhere. This is beautiful. There's no merch yet. We're actually working on doing some T-shirts for folks out there, of course, for some charity out there. So if you're going to be on reInvent, we're going to be there for sure. Well, if the permissions allow, but we may have some T-shirts for you. Yeah. So
yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just poking around here. ECS, ECS config. Otherwise, it adds that.
Cobus,
Ooh,
I've heard excellent words from Vincent now. It's time to shoot the host before it becomes a pet.
This is such a loved box. Let me just show you how loved it is.
So yeah, this is wonderful. Yeah, the host this thing has become a pet, and now it's a problem to configure. If this was an EC2 instance, just kill it and just get a new one. Yeah.
So let me show you how well loved this instance is. It has got its own post-it. Come on, zoom in. With the name and the IPs that I assigned to it, so I know what it is.
We know
this is how much I love this box.
We know your IP addresses now, Cobus. Time to hack.
Ooh, that's going to be a problem. Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple of comments here. There's a clean install of the reinstall of the ECS agent, so SSM agent, right? Oh no, ACS agent. So maybe
but I'm not sure if it's the SSM agent, but we can try that next. I just want to poke around here just to see what did I do wrong, because it's not the SSM agent, because that's registering it against the correct account. So I know that portion is working. It's the configuration of ECS. Now, when it connects the ECS service to register itself, for some reason the local ECS agent has got a different account ID. It thinks it needs to use the register against. Okay. Now, my understanding is ECS only has that config in etc ECS. Sure. So that 5 times quickly.
How about this, Cobus? When you generate your key to register, it allows for a single instance to register once.
Yes.
Has the key expired?
No, because I regenerated it after I uninstalled SSM and then nuked the SSM config.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out. I don't think it'll do anything to. Okay, let's import this thing. Let's go dig into what we have in that folder for an opt. No, it's not opt. It's in var. Here we go. Okay, cool.
But SSM is fine. SSM has registered, right? That's no problem. I think the problem here is var lib ECS data agent DB. No. The thing that Ricardo says. So
agent DB. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So ECS agent has a database file locally set up, and it may have some configuration from before. So maybe if we delete this file, we can just clean it up and do something with it, right? You don't have to stop SSM. I think that's fine. Yeah.
Do I not have to solve it? Can I just nuke that file? Okay. Well,
I mean, so SSM works, right? SSM is working.
Yep.
But ECS is not working. So the file from Ricardo is the ECS agent, var lib ECS data.
Oh.
Lib. And it fixed Ricardo's issue. Wow, I called Ricardo.
There we go.
Data.
That's fine. Yep. That's
go
good.
To ECS. Go to data. Go to data. Oh, I think it's going to be just blah. So,
okay, cool. So service ECS stop.
Yep.
And then
time to nuke the file.
Do we need to keep this? Can I just nuke
maybe
it? Let's just be safe.
Rename it. Just
I'm a little bit gung ho. Data agent DB. DB.old.
Old. I use that back. Wow, you're the old person.
I like old. I like chasing people off my lawn, you youngster.
You youngster.
Yes. Thank you for that one, Ricardo. This would have taken a while to figure. So you just saved us how many? 4 hours, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ricardo.
This is awesome. Let's see.
We'll
Okay,
get you
cool.
something.
Right. Let's see what it says now.
Something connected to
That
a
looks
endpoint.
good.
WebSocket is a go.
That makes me happy. Let's refresh over here.
Ricardo, thank you.
Oh, I'm so buying you a beer or even a whiskey next time I see you in person, which will probably be like months. So I'm safe. You might have forgotten by then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
but I
get
mean
some
the dev.
DevBeardOps merch.
No, we definitely want to. There's certain ways you can actually do it, but the reason I won't do that is because it probably won't ship to South Africa where I'm based, which means I can't have my own merch, and then none of you can.
But there's
Okay.
a great comment here from Dan NBA putting a beard on the AWS smile.
Do you want to see how quickly Darko and I get fired for brand violations?
Yeah. We'll get that approved. We'll get that approved. No. We'll
Yes,
figure it out.
we'll work on it officially, yeah. But
yeah. So
yes.
this is good. So what do we have now? I mean, we will not be able to finish all of this today, but what do we have now?
What we have now is me running Terraform on the side again to get that service back up again after I killed it by hand. And this is the beauty of using infrastructure as code. You can do what I just did, which is mess around by hand with things and then just go kill things again.
Yeah.
And
we didn't
so
have to
basically,
shoot your pet.
we've got capacity now. So if I go to my cluster over here, actually, yeah, you should. Let me just make it a little bit bigger. You can see over here I've got an instance. We can see there's a pending task. If I go into the cluster, we can see I've got my service now because I set that up. It's currently desired count 1, pending count is 1. That's something new. So now what I'm going to do is let's have a look over here. It's recording SlimePad, create container name smoke ping on smoke.
Can you make that full screen so we can bask in the glory of a good log file?
Can I double click on it?
No,
I don't know how to do that.
VS Code.
I don't know how to do it in VS Code, sorry. But I mean, yeah. Is this it?
Is this
it? Let's see.
Running tasks.
Running tasks. Running one. This is looking good. Okay, cool. Let's get out of here.
Now, if you
okay,
ECS smoke ping.
Nice. Okay, so this is not the end, but what this should give us now is if I
you should have smoke ping running right now.
80.
80.
I need to look at ports again. Sorry, give me a second. This is why I want to get traffic running properly, because this broke me last time. Not the traffic one, smoke ping. I am running on port 8086.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Cool. Let's see.
Okay, it doesn't work. I think you're
right IP would help. Voila. Smoke ping. And just to make me happy, let's quickly look over here. What do I normally check? Let's just check one of the local news sites. Oh, that's why. It's because it's big. There we go. Yeah. And you can see that I didn't lose my data. There obviously will be a gap now in terms of the data, but you can see this has been running since November-ish last year sometime. The reason for that is, and now I think we've got 2 minutes before we need to start wrapping up. Let's quickly just dig into what I did here, how I did this mapping. So
explain.
Do this and this. This is a little bit big, so I'm going to make it slightly.
Can you just close the files on the left if you don't need? So just like click on the little file icon. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. So what did I do is I had my Docker Compose file previously, and you can see there is a bunch of environment variables configured just to know what process to run as, because it's not running as or just for mapping purposes. Volumes to do, ports to map, labels for traffic, so it can actually do the auto SSL for me. That will not work at the moment because of the way the networking is configured, and that's something I have to dig into. But in theory. Sorry, my dog is getting really annoying here because people are making lunch in the house and she can't get to go steal the toast. Which
we can't hear it. We cannot hear it.
Okay, good, because she's making very strange sounds here. So this was my Docker Compose file. How did I take this and turn it into an ECS service? Well, the two components to that is that you first create a task definition, because what that is in ECS terms is this is the container, all the config that I want to run, want to use when I run this container. And then what I do is I create an ECS service using that task definition and says, go create this one, please run one copy of it in my case. And the way I did that was that I could use Terraform to manage this because, like I said, I like infrastructure as code. So what we have over here is that this is what I did to do the ECS service. Basically, just tell it to use that specific AWS account, give it a name, tell it what cluster to use, and then also what task definition to use, which is this one. Now, the task definition was a bit of a struggle because you need to map between what is the Docker configuration, or sorry, the ECS task definition configurations you have to do versus natively supported inside the Terraform resource, because they tend to have mappings where you can also override it. So you can see over here, I've got that. Let me just dump a straight blob of JSON in here to do that for the basic configs. And I mean, there's nothing funny in here. It's just like how much CPU essential. I'm just doing a little lookup here for the amount of memory that I'm going to use, because obviously, in general with Docker, if you don't specify memory, it just allocates, I think, 8 gigs, and it doesn't worry if you go over what your system has. ECS, however, does, because obviously it needs to reserve capacity, so we're worried about running out of RAM, so I have to specify the RAM. I just put that in a little hash map so I can do lookups for all the different services I have. Gizmo, not now. And port mappings, Docker labels, the environment setup. The volume is a little bit different, and this is something that tripped me up, actually, and I've used ECS in production for many years, and then I didn't use it now for the last year in detail, which is, in Docker, you say mount the volume, host, container, and that's it. It's a single command, where in ECS task definitions, they actually split into two. So the first part is that you say the mount point, so you say, on the container, mount it to that path, and use that source volume. The reason for that is a volume can be a bind mount, or it can be a volume that created, or it can be a persistent volume using some kind of volume provider service, third party or whatever in Docker, which is why this is slightly more complicated, which means that here you can see I define the volume as a host path and not an external one. And we have got 45 seconds left, or 1 minute 45 left, which is why I'm going to stop my tirade. And sorry for going quickly there, because I can see Docker. Docker. Congratulations, Docker. Docker now has a face. It's bearded.
So okay, cool. I think this kind of shows what we did. This gentleman did. He set up ECS Anywhere to run on his micro server, which, as Dragunov asked, is just a little box sitting in a corner. Check out HP microservers; they're wonderful. And this is running a service internally, so this doesn't have access to the outside. So this is currently running a service only internally. Next week, join us where we're going to do something similar, but instead of running smoke ping, we're going to actually run something publicly available. So there's a bunch of other things we need to set up here, like VPN and a whole bunch of things, but we will be doing that and load balancing it from the cloud. Okay? So, Kobus, thank you very much for setting all of these great things up. Thank you all for the wonderful comments and questions. Please keep them coming, and please give us ideas for swag. So we're always looking for more ideas to do something about it. And join us next week, same place, same time. So 1 p.m. Central European time, or whatever the local equivalent is for you. Wednesdays on twitch.tv/WS. Join us where we do more ECS Anywhere. And we will plan some future episodes like those IAM cross-account stuffs. So thank you very much. And see you all. Bye.
Cool.
Bye.
Adios.